Friday, good Friday morning to everybody heading into the weekend. Another big football weekend in college football and in the NFL. We're live from Mandu in Brentwood this morning. The Pulse of Fitness, 1 15-minute workout equals 5+ hours in the weight room, Mandu.com. Your first workout's free. Today, talking Vols, talking quarterback as they go to the Swamp to face the Florida Gators. Dan Mullen has the Gators ranked 11th in the country after a really, really good performance against Alabama last week, where they really should have tied that game, had opportunities to send that Alabama team to overtime in the Swamp last week. Which Vols quarterback gives the Vols the best shot at an upset in the Swamp? We'll talk about it. There are two quarterbacks. Josh Heupel's talked a lot about the quarterbacks over the week and who's been getting extra work at practice, who's been back at practice as the Vols get set for Josh Heupel's first SEC game as Tennessee head coach. And then we'll talk about what we would consider a success for Tennessee in the Swamp against Florida, as the Vols are a 19-point underdog going into this game. Then, speaking of underdogs and points, we will do our SEC picks today, Zach, where last week you went 7-0.
7-0. I should get more points for that, you know?
I mean, you get 7 points.
I should get like a bonus.
A bonus?
Bonus.
No, I don't think
you go. This is the second time I've been undefeated during a week. I don't think you've ever done
5 years?
In the last 2 years. Okay. I went undefeated last year.
Last year you had an undefeated week. Okay, I went 6-1. The one game was the Alabama-Florida game that you got me on. So we got our SEC picks and our mortgage picks.
It should be a 5-point bonus, right?
No, that's not how it works. Okay, but our mortgage picks are worth 2 points, so you hit that last week. So congrats on that one. I did as well. Mortgage picks and good news. Ain't that good news to send us the weekend. Zach, welcome and hope your Friday's off to a good start.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us, we do look like freaks. It's okay. We'll talk about that once we start the show and why we do, and why Austin's wearing what he's wearing, and why I look like I have not showered in 3 days. But we do have a big show today. We're broadcasting live on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Facebook. We welcome everybody in. We want more people to pile in as much as they can. For our Twitter family, please retweet the broadcast. We need to pop up in your Twitter followers timeline. That would help us out a great deal. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's a great way to get all of our content, whether it's Titans, Vols, SEC. We've got you covered in that realm. And also on Facebook. What's going on, Facebookers? More people will pile in over the next 5 to 10 minutes. As you do, please share the show. Bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing. So share the show around. You have a nice show. It's Florida, Tennessee week. We'll be curious to see what happens on Saturday, but we'll talk about it. Let's get this party started.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports, powered by BetMGM. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or Twitch. We're Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out you guys. Renters Warehouse Nashville, the professional landlords in the area at renterswarehouse.com. Mandu, the Pulse of Fitness, where we're at this morning in Brentwood. Mandu.com. Your first workout is free. Wilson County Hyundai, if you need a new ride, head out to Lebanon to see what they have to offer at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. And the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. So, Zach, this is the first real, the second real test for Tennessee and Josh Heupel, because Pitt was...
Well, yeah, it was a test they lost.
It was a test they lost by 7, and it was a disappointing loss because of how that game started. The second quarters have been an issue for Tennessee in their first 2 games. The Tennessee Tech game had 0 issues, and there's nothing you can take away from a 56-0 win.
I disagree with that, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
We'll talk about that later.
All right. Well, I don't think you can take much away.
You said you can't take anything. There's difference than anything than much, right?
Okay. I don't think there's anything positive you can take away from that. I can bring up negatives from that game, but anyway, there's nothing positive you can take away from a 56-0 win over a Tennessee Tech. Okay. So now it's Florida, and Florida is coming off a game where they performed out of their minds against Alabama, taking them to the very end, where if a missed extra point did happen the first half, that's an extra point away from going to overtime. It was a 2-point conversion away from being in overtime regardless. And Florida's defense is good. They're fast on offense, which is not a surprise. Will they have both of their quarterbacks this week with Richardson not playing last week? We'll see. But Emory Jones played probably better than he's ever played before in the game against Alabama. And now Tennessee has a quarterback situation again where we don't know who's going to start because Josh Heupel's kept that very close to the vest.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I do think I have an opinion on what Heupel should do, but this is, Tennessee is not there yet to compete with Florida, especially this Florida team that was able to compete with Alabama in the swamp last week, and they don't have the home field advantage. There's a lot of things that it goes into this game, but Heupel can come in there, and I think the Vols can put on a good performance based on the last 3 weeks. They do have some positivity going in there. They lost that Pitt game, but they were in that Pitt game. They had an opportunity to tie or win that Pitt game. They didn't, but I think the 3 weeks getting prepared, I think the offense can settle in, and I think you can take some good things going into this Florida week, and maybe there's a letdown for Florida, right?
Yeah, I think if you're a Tennessee fan, the one thing you're hoping is that Florida gave it everything they had against Alabama, and there is a hangover, just a physical letdown of how up you got for that Alabama game, and you went the whole way, you fell short, and then having a little bit of a letdown, like you're saying, against Tennessee. But I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I saw a report yesterday that the Swamp is very close approaching a sellout, so another back-to-back weeks of 91,000 fans in the Swamp that want to see Florida win, and they want to trounce Tennessee. Florida's gotten used to and accustomed to trouncing Tennessee, and the 19-point spread kind of shows what Vegas expects. So let's go ahead and get into it, Zach. Who do you think should be the starting quarterback for Tennessee? Like, who of these two quarterbacks, whether it's Joe Milton, who missed last week because of injury, or Hendon Hooker, who came in halfway through the Pitt game, did a pretty good job in the second half against Pitt, and then did what he did against Tennessee Tech in a game that really didn't matter. But which quarterback gives the Vols the best chance to upset Florida and give them a fight in the Swamp? What do you think?
I will absolutely answer this question, but first I want you to tell the fine folks of where we are, because this is Mandu Live.
Yes.
And it's impacted both of our lives.
Yes, it has. Mandu is the Pulse of Fitness. Why is it the Pulse of Fitness? Because one 15-minute workout of full-body electronic muscle stimulation it simulates over 5 hours in the weight room. How is that possible? Because the science, what it does to your body, how you can build functional strength. I've lost 10% body fat in like the last 2 years for how Mandu has taught me about my fitness goals and how to achieve your fitness goals. They have highly educated trainers here at Mandu that can help you out get there. They've got the technology to do it. So one 15-minute workout equals 5 or more hours in the weight room. Mandu.com, your first workout's free. And if you tell them A to Z sent you, they'll give you $100 off your first month when you sign up right there at Mandu.com.
Can't beat that. I had my Mandu workout last night, 6 o'clock. Got home, ate dinner, went to sleep, woke up feeling good. Now, I do look like a freak, and Austin probably asking why he's wearing a nice purple lilac scarf. There you go. That's a handful. But and Nate says, what's wrong with Zach hair? If you watch yesterday's show, the Magic Bucket told us that I had to gel my hair all the way down, and Austin had to wear a scarf. So we don't usually dress like this. We don't usually look like freaks, and I don't usually look like I haven't showered in 3 days. It's just the Magic Bucket, okay? That's what they told us to do, and we do what the Magic Bucket says. So the question is, Austin, that you asked me, who should start at quarterback? Who gives the Vols the best shot to beat Florida? My answer is the quarterback that started last week. It is Hendon Hooker. I think that he will start. I expect Josh Heupel to start Hendon Hooker. He got good time. That's why I disagreed with you when you said nothing to take away from the Tennessee Tech.
Nothing positive.
And 56-0 is positive. Game experience is positive.
Tennessee Tech
playing time is positive.
Tennessee Tech is nothing.
There is a positive to that. Was it a negative?
No, it just was a wash.
There's no way it was a wash when Hendon Hooker threw 3 touchdowns and at least got more reps in this new offense. That is a positive, Austin. And you, as a Tennessee Vol alum, should know that.
No, that's like it doesn't matter. It's Tennessee Tech. It's irrelevant. That's one of the worst football teams.
Reps don't matter?
I mean, it's like they're
live game reps don't matter. Are you saying that?
That's as good as a practice scrimmage, and like they would
good as or better
actually
than?
they would get more if they would have scrimmaged their own defense than they played against Tennessee Tech.
They don't do that.
I obviously they don't do that. I know that, but Tennessee Tech is one of the worst teams in the FCS level. They can't score points. They can't stop anybody on defense. So if he's basically playing against air. Like I don't even like Tennessee Tech is that bad of a football program.
I think there's positives to take away from a 56-0 stomping.
I mean, you're glad they won.
You
you're
should.
glad they stomped them. But again, I don't. When I say there's nothing to take away from it, there's nothing that happened in that 56-0 win that carries over to anything. There's nothing that carries over to Florida. Like
I absolutely think if Hooker starts, absolutely.
No, it's such an inferior opponent that there's nothing there that translates to what you're going to see on Saturday in the Swamp.
And you don't know that because Saturday has not played yet. I think that Hooker, with knowing this offense a little bit better, I think that is a positive to at least get out to a better start. And my answer is Hooker because I think he is the best quarterback to manage this offense, not make the massive mistake, have the opportunity to go down, extend drives, run clock, and score. I don't think Milton can do that for you.
So I'm going to shock people. I think Joe Milton is what gives the Vols a puncher's chance to beat the Florida Gators because Hendon Hooker, I feel, is more turnover prone and more careless with the football with the amount of times he's fumbled in his 2 games and in his game and a half that he's played. Now, look, does he have more fluidity in the passing game? Does he look more comfortable? Does he throw a more catchable pass? Yeah. But here's what's going to happen for Tennessee to beat Florida. They're going to have to connect on huge plays. And I don't think Hendon Hooker has the big play ability that Joe Milton has. And Joe Milton has not been able to complete any of those deep balls that are wide open. But now he's had an extra week and a week of practice and a chance to look at somebody else doing it and to adjust. And I think Joe Milton's big play ability through the air is the only way Tennessee can pull off an upset.
He can't make big plays through the air.
He can at least.
Your silence tells me that is correct.
My silence. It was like a second and a half of you.
Because he can't. When has he?
I don't. He did once against Bowling Green, and he actually
don't die on this hill, Austin. Don't die on this hill.
I'm not dying. Hold on, I'll give you an example. Jalen Hyatt against Pitt was a beautiful throw, right in the breadbasket where it's supposed to be. Jalen Hyatt could not finish the catch, and there was a hole in the O-line that would have taken it away anyway. But that was a beautiful throw. So yeah, there's one, the Jalen Hyatt throw in the early game against Pitt, but Hendon Hooker doesn't have the ability like that against Florida that Joe Milton.
What about his injury? Do we know anything about his injury? Is he 100% healthy?
He's been practicing all week.
Is he 100% healthy?
Nobody knows this, but he's been practicing all week, and Josh Heupel has not said who's out, who's in. So what I'm expecting is I think Josh Heupel is going to start Joe Milton on Saturday.
He can't hit the deep ball.
All right, Michael, don't use that language.
Travis says he can't hit the deep ball.
He hit one. Look, he's struggled with it, and it's crazy to see how much he's overthrowing the deep ball. But I
think this is a bad take, Austin. I think in your heart that Hendon Hooker gives
Hendon Hooker is more catastrophic turnover type guy than Joe Milton.
Joe Milton's more 3 and out, give the ball back to Florida to score type guy.
There's a reason why Joe Milton got the starting job out of camp, because he has the highest ceiling of the quarterbacks on the team.
But I think you find out more about a quarterback with more playing time. That's why I referenced how important the Tennessee Tech was for Hendon Hooker and getting reps. I think they're going to play Hooker because of what he was able to do in the last couple of weeks coming in for the injured Milton and Pitt. And I think if you can manage the game and extend it, right? All you're trying to do is keep it close in the third and fourth quarter. Hendon Hooker gives you the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Joe Milton overthrows people and can't complete passes. He doesn't know what his arm strength is. All of these things are true. We've seen enough, right? For Florida, we've seen enough. And what we've seen from Hendon Hooker is greater than what we've seen from Joe Milton.
But if you want to actually beat Florida, you're going to have to make these big passes.
No, you're not. You're going to have to manage the game.
No, you're not going to. Then you're going to lose to Florida just by less, maybe. Like again, like if you want to try to beat Florida,
is that a success?
The question is no.
We'll come back to that.
The question is who gives you the best chance to beat Florida? Joe Milton does, because Joe Milton's the only guy.
He can't complete third passes.
Joe Milton's the only guy who can press the ball down the field, which is what you're going to have to do if you want a chance to win
Austin, if it goes 10 yards over, it doesn't matter if you press the ball down the field, and that's what he does.
I think Joe Milton has the ability to run the offense that Josh Heupel wants to run at the best out of the two guys, because Harrison Bailey is a complete afterthought.
But Austin, from what we've seen so far, that's incorrect. From the 3 games that we've seen the 2 quarterbacks, you don't have anything to stand on. That's wrong. Milton has not performed as well as Hooker. Facts, homie.
Okay, but again, when you're asking the question, who gives the best shot to beat Florida, I think it's Joe Milton because of his ability to push the ball down the field. And I guess it's just me being ridiculous and thinking that he can't overthrow everything by 10 yards.
I think that is.
He's going to hit one.
I think that's.
Brandon says, what about Harrison Bailey? Harrison Bailey is irrelevant. Harrison Bailey is not going to play at Tennessee under Josh Heupel. Clearly, as inconsistent as both the quarterbacks ahead of him have been, and Harrison Bailey has not gotten more of a shot, that's not going to happen. Harrison Bailey does not have the mobility or the arm strength to push the ball down the field like the other 2 guys, so I would expect him to transfer at some point.
Yeah, it's between Hooker and Milton, and I think Hooker and the chat agrees, and I think they've seen enough of Hooker to know that he is the better option of these 2. Milton he had an opportunity to prove that his arm is live and that he can actually use it. Problem is, he didn't prove that.
Scoop says Hooker is better. Billy says he's with Zach on this one. Ed says, what does the spread say? 19 points. That's what it was. Brian says he wasn't accurate at Michigan and showed not accurate at Tennessee. Let's see. Dom had a comment earlier. He says, I don't have a problem with just running the ball the whole game. Do what you do well. I don't think Tennessee runs the ball well. I don't think after them running the ball all over Bowling Green in the first game, they haven't been able to consistently get any good runs with their actual running backs. They did not run the ball efficiently against Tennessee Tech, who I said earlier is one of the worst FCS teams in all of FCS. And your running backs only average like 3 yards a carry. Their offensive line is not getting enough push. Like if you're going to beat Florida, you have to be able to complete and connect on those bombs that Joe Milton only has the ability to throw.
He can't do that. He hasn't shown that he can complete those passes, Austin. You're living in a pipe dream. Like, I know you think that Milton has the arm. He does, but he doesn't have the accuracy. What is it good for, right?
I mean, I just think that there's opportunity there where Hendon Hooker doesn't have that opportunity. Hendon Hooker is
it's like having a big Hummer because you like having a big car, but you can't park it.
No, but like, okay. So that's a funny analogy. But again, like I don't think Hendon Hooker is going to be able to take Tennessee's offense on a 10-play drive 70 yards down the field. Like I just don't see that being feasible against this Florida defense. I do see feasible of just one connecting early in the game from Joe Milton down the field to one of these receivers who have a lot of talent and changing the outcome of that game. Like, I think if all it takes is one.
He's not consistent. No, it's going to take more than one to beat Florida.
Okay.
You want strategic, time-wasting drives.
What I specifically said is early in the game, all it takes is one. If you connect on something in the first quarter, all of a sudden it's 7-7, and you quiet the swamp a little bit because Joe Milton hit one of his receivers on a 50-yard touchdown.
That's not how you win the game. How you win the game is you control the clock. And honestly,
Zach, Josh Heupel doesn't control the clock.
With first downs.
He doesn't. Well, no, he might control a drive, but he doesn't control.
That's the point.
The controlling the clock is nothing Josh Heupel's ever going to do.
That ends with points. That is a success. Like, do what Bowling Green in the first game did it against Tennessee in the second quarter. That's the type of philosophy. But if you're throwing deep for 60 yards, hoping and praying that Milton's going to complete a pass, you're going to be disappointed and you're going to lose because you're going to punt and Florida's going to get a short field.
Nate says Zach's on fire today. Ricochet Ray says he'd bet on a 50-yard run from Hooker before a 50-yard pass from Milton.
Love of the show.
Milton's the only quarterback who has a 50-yard run on this Tennessee roster. Jordan Estrada says UT's average drive is under 2 minutes, Zach. That's my point. Whether they score or whether they don't score, it's 2 minutes or less. Or rather,
but you know, it's real quick that is not time consuming. A 50-yard incomplete pass, a 2-yard run, and another incomplete pass.
They've been doing that with both quarterbacks.
But Milton more often. I mean, Hooker's has been better than Milton. Do you agree?
Yes.
That's where you have to go.
If you're actually thinking you can have a chance to beat Florida, you've got to, I think Joe Milton gives you the better chance because he has the highest ceiling of any of the quarterbacks on the roster.
We haven't seen it. We don't know what his ceiling is.
Jordan says also with Milton not being 100%, I don't think you start him. I think Joe Milton's going to start. There's a reason why he was the starter you used last week with the injury as the excuse of why you started Hendon Hooker. And it wasn't like super clean by Hendon Hooker either. He fumbles, he throws an interception, a really costly interception against Pitt, where I think he is more turnover prone than Joe Milton at this point.
Yeah, and we had a commenter earlier on, if Milton comes in and has those long, deep, incomplete passes and then gets yanked, where are you at? What about that?
I think then you at least have the ability to go to Hooker. I think if you start Milton, you have Hooker in the bullpen.
No, Milton's justified by not being 100%.
I think you start Milton. I think if you view it like the Pitt game where you start Milton, you try to go for it big a couple times early on. If the guy shows again that he doesn't have it, then you can go to Hendon Hooker as your bullpen guy. I think that works. I don't think it works the other way around.
All right, so let's find out what you would consider a success for the Vols. I really disagree with that first take. I don't know why you took Milton, but we'll find out what happens on Saturday.
Yep.
But what would you consider a success for the Vols at Florida if they can't win? Look, this is Heupel's first year. The expectations are lowered because of the situation coming up of what they did last year. What is a success?
All right, so we'll get your comments on what you think a success would be for the Vols against Florida. But first, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever an injury happens in life, make sure you know who to turn to and who to trust. That's the folks at the Bone and Joint Institute. They have over a dozen physicians there at their Franklin, Tennessee location that specialize in anything that can go wrong. And they streamline the process to get you back to health. They don't send you all over town, all over the city, the different locations for different reasons. It's all done right there at the Bone and Joint Institute for your ease, boneandjointtn.org.
It is these sports were powered by BetMGM. Download the app today. BetMGM, risk-free $1,000 bet for new users. Use the promo code ATOZ Sports for that promotion.
All right, so what is considered a success for the Vols against Florida? I'm curious of what people are going to say here. Travis says, fight the entire game. Don't beat yourself for penalties. Penalties have been an issue, or were absolutely a massive issue in the Pitt game, which is the one loss so far for Josh Heupel. So I agree with that. Ed says Pitt gave up 44 in a loss to Western Michigan. Florida should cover. Ricochet says either win or continue to suck. There's no moral victories in this game. So, I mean, yeah, moral victories suck. But you have to be realistic with where Tennessee's at. And right now, Tennessee's program, as sad as it might be, as much pride as you might have to swallow if you're a Tennessee fan to hear this, yeah, there are moral victories in this game against Florida because Josh Heupel is starting over from scratch. Josh Heupel has 71 scholarship players. He doesn't have the depth to compete, and he absolutely doesn't have a quarterback who can pull off some miracle and beat a team like Florida. So, yeah, there are moral victories, and you can prove something in this game to make fans still feel good because you have a winnable game next week against Missouri, and then after that against South Carolina. Those are the games that are important. So Billy says stay within 10 points and no or minimal turnovers. Dom says, wow, I'm really a fan of a team that counts moral victories against their arch rivals. That's just the situation they're at. Austin Little says anything less than a 2-possession game is enough to be success. Sean says to cover the 19 points. Randy says success is where'd Randy's comment? Success is when you're not losing by more than 15. Travis says if you can slow down the run and you at least keep it close. Ben says, do you think Florida's encouraged that they should have taken Alabama into overtime? No, Florida's not doing moral victories like Tennessee is. Florida's in a different situation. I mean, I don't know why that's difficult to understand, Zach.
Yeah, I think you can't have what happened like last year in versus the Georgia team in Athens, where you have a really good first half and then you lose by 3 scores. Like that's not if we're talking about moral victories, that's not a moral victory. That's why I say you got to keep it close by shortening the game, and that Josh Heupel has to adapt. Like that needs to be his head coaching skill. You have to know what you have to do. It's a game plan against a certain opponent, and this opponent, you cannot get in an arms race with Florida. You're going to lose every time. You have to strategize to run the football and just get first downs. And look, run your offense. You can be quick, but you don't have to be speed fast like Ole Miss.
No, but the speed fast is what allowed them to get back into that game against Pitt, because they caught Pitt's defense out of position a few times and got some nice plays or penalties against Pitt for substitution or offsides because of the pace they moved. Can you do that?
Also allowed Pitt to get back into the game after they had a 10-0 lead.
No, it goes both ways. It's a double-edged sword. I'm totally on board.
So they lost because.
Well, no, Tennessee allowed Pitt to get back in because they couldn't. The second quarter was awful again, and they gave up 27 points in the second quarter.
And they didn't score.
Yes, I'm with you. But it's a double-edged sword. Like, you're not telling me anything I don't know, but it goes both ways.
But I'm telling you, don't make a double-edged sword. Make a single-edged sword and play and try to muck up the game a little bit by not going for the home runs, but just running your offense. Get into 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4s, 3rd and 2s. That's what you need to do.
All right, so Ben says he disagrees with Yuri. He says, I think you have to attack them. Methodically just playing to get first downs is what Florida wants you to do. And I agree. Like, I think you have to be the aggressor. I think if you're an underdog like this on the road, you have to be the aggressor to try to do something to disrupt Florida. And you can't just, let them do whatever. Randy says, another take, success is doing better than last year. After 10 years of this, I'm okay with baby steps. And Ricochet Ray says, okay, I'll give you a loss by a field goal would be a victory or a last-second touchdown. Like, if Tennessee loses by 10 and it's like 31 to 21, Ray, you're going to be you're going to have optimism going into the Missouri game if you kept it within 10 points against Florida. You're fooling yourself if you don't believe that.
Yeah, well, we'll find out on Saturday. I think they're just trying to cover the spread and put up a good performance and not make a ton of massive mistakes.
So I think, and I haven't given my answer yet of what I consider a success. I think 2 scores is that. So anything that's like within 14 points and where it's kind of a back and forth fourth quarter where maybe Tennessee gets within 7, Florida answers, and Tennessee has an opportunity to get it within 7 again or whatever, however the possessions go towards the end. But it's got to be within striking distance of threatening there in the fourth quarter for me to consider that a success. Florida's really good. Florida's fast. They're huge and fast on defense, and I don't think Tennessee's going to be able to run the ball. So I would also be excited if Tennessee can put up 24 points in this game. I think that would be another notch of success too.
Yeah, I agree with Chris. The success is Florida if the Vols are in the game for 4 quarters.
So is that your answer?
Yeah, I'll go with Chris.
Okay, sounds good to me. A to Z Sports here live on this Friday show, live from Mandu in Brentwood. Let's go ahead and get and pick this game. So we want your full predictions on Tennessee, Florida. The Vols are a 19-point underdog. So we'll do this. We'll pick our SEC picks and our mortgage picks. But first, Zach, tell everybody about Wilson County Hyundai.
Yeah, Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to go to get your next ride. It's that simple. It's that easy. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Go there for their inventory. They got the Palisade. They got the Sonata, the Santa Fe. They've got you covered. That's WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
We are powered every morning by BetMGM. Don't forget, download the BetMGM app. Use our code ATOZ Sports. You get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 with your first deposit and your first bet. So that's BetMGM app. Upload or download the app with code ATOZ Sports. Risk-free bet up to $1,000. Visit BetMGM.com. For terms and conditions. You must be 21 years old or must be present in Tennessee. And for gambling problem support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Our SEC picks for the season, Zach, through 3 weeks, we're each 13-7, which is pretty solid. We had a good week. We were sitting around that 500 number, and then you went 7-0 last week. I went 6-1 last week to get us to that 13-7 mark. So I'll let you start. Tennessee at Florida, with Florida 19-point favorites. What are you thinking here?
I think Florida's going to cover. I think they're going to win by 21. I think late in the game, I just don't see this game being close. I think at home also pushes them over the edge. In Tennessee, I just don't know if they can score against this defense. So I'm going to go Florida.
I am thinking Tennessee covers the 19. I think it's really close. I think the 19 is a sweat at the end. I think it's like a 17-point game type of situation. I think Dan Mullen, I kind of expect a little slow start out of Florida and Tennessee to keep it close early, but then Florida to pull away. So I think Tennessee plus 19 is my pick. Ed says Florida 45-13. Anthony says Florida 42-17. Those would be terrible situations. Now, Chris gives a moral victory for Tennessee. Florida 35, Tennessee 28. Johnny says Gators win, but UT covers 27-17. I think there's way more points than 27-17 there. Scoop says 35-21, Florida. So that one's there. So next game on the docket, Zach, is Georgia at Vandy. Georgia minus 35.5. I am going to take Vandy in this. I think it's just too big of a number. 35.5. I think Georgia easily wins by 4 touchdowns or more, but not by 35.5. That extra hook of the half point is enough for me to take Vandy, because I think Georgia is going to try to get up early, and get the heck out of there with as little injuries as possible. Make that first half the second half nearly be a running clock with the amount of times you're going to run the football. So I'm taking Vandy plus 35.5.
I agree with you. I think that the spread is too big. And Vandy, look, they've made some strides.
Just lost the running back, though, for the year.
Yeah, that is true. But I still 35.5 is such a massive number. I think Vandy can at least maybe get some scores in the fourth when Georgia's ready to leave.
Ethan says Vandy is worse than UAB. Yes, they are. But again, I think we want to get out of Nashville as fast as possible aspect is why I'm taking Georgia to not win by more than 35 points. All right, LSU at Mississippi State. I find this game interesting too. Both teams have had some issues early on in the season. Mississippi State kind of got screwed against Memphis last week. LSU -2. Zach, where are you going with this game?
I'm going to take LSU. I hate State, but besides that, I think that Mississippi State, they lost to Memphis last week. I know that call was very controversial.
Very controversial. There were like 3 mistakes on that call by the referees.
But
at one point, there were 3 mistakes.
And LSU is not great. I just think that this is a game that LSU wins by more than 2.
Yeah, 2 is small. So I'm taking LSU on the road at State -2. So we agree there. This is a game I like a lot. And I actually got Kentucky -5 on the BetMGM app earlier in the week. It's gone up by 5 to 5.5. So I've already told you I'm taking Kentucky -5.5. I don't think South Carolina is any good. I don't think they can hang with Kentucky. I think Kentucky absolutely overlooked UT Chattanooga last week, and that game was way too close and a lot closer than it ever should have been, even if you're overlooking Chattanooga. But I think that's more of a mental refocus for Kentucky, and they go into Columbia, South Carolina, and come out of there by a win, about a touchdown or more.
That's the pick. Kentucky's going to win and cover. South Carolina is not there yet, and I don't know whether they're going to get there, but it's not going to be this weekend.
No, not at all. All right, Texas A&M. This is the game of the week in the SEC. Texas A&M at Arkansas. Arkansas is a 4.5-point home underdog. Arkansas has probably been the surprise in the SEC out of the gates. They're ranked, 16th now? Nobody expected Sam Pittman to turn around Arkansas this quickly and this well. It's a neutral site game, so it's not at Arkansas. So neutral site game in Jerry World. Texas A&M -4.5. Zach, what's your pick?
I think Arkansas has played too well. I'm going to take Arkansas versus A&M. So give me Pig Suey. I think that's going to be a statement game for Arkansas too. And more national eyes are going to be aware of Arkansas. Now, what they'll do in the West the rest of the way, that's remained to be seen. But I'll take Arkansas.
Well, and Texas A&M looked bad against Colorado. Like, Colorado gave them a game. That thing was real tight late, where A&M was in actual trouble against Colorado. And then I don't know if you saw PJ Fleck in Minnesota went into Colorado last week, the week after A&M went toe-to-toe with them, and PJ Fleck wiped them by like 30 points, Colorado. So I think A&M has issues at the quarterback position, and so I'm going to go with Arkansas plus 4.5. I think it's enough points to take an underdog where it could be a tight game. So I think we got Arkansas cover. Ed says A&M by 10. Afio's taking the Razorbacks. Brent says Arkansas wins. Aaron, who's at Arkansas,
even if it's a 3-point game.
Yeah. That's. I'm taking Arkansas. I'm not taking Arkansas money line by any means, but Arkansas plus the 4.5 is good for me. Time for mortgage picks here on the show. Our mortgage picks are worth 2 points in our season-long SEC picks and college football picks. So how that works is you're putting the mortgage down on it. Presented by BetMGM. Again, download the BetMGM app. Use code ATOZ Sports, and with your first deposit, your first bet is risk-free up to $1,000 with the BetMGM app. So, Zach, we both hit our mortgage picks last week. What is your mortgage pick this week?
I'm going back to the well. Give me Liberty versus Syracuse and give me the over. I think there's going to be a lot. I think Liberty could win this game. They're minus 6.5, but Liberty over 53.5. That is my mortgage pick. I think Hugh Freeze and Syracuse. Syracuse has it's not like your Greg Paulus offense. They actually can score points. So I think they're going back and forth. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. 53.5. Give me the over.
I have Liberty money line in a parlay.
I think that's a good pick.
Because it's at Syracuse, right? In the Carrier Dome?
Yeah.
Not bad, 53.5. I don't know much about Syracuse this year, but I it's not bad. I like that. I found my pick on Monday, and it's moved a little bit. On BetMGM, I got Charlotte minus 2.5 on Monday. It's up to 3 at MTSU, or no, home versus MTSU. Charlotte's going to win by 2 touchdowns. Like, that is the easy. Like, if you are betting, take Charlotte minus 3. I've got a lot of money on that pick on the app, and I'm doing it for my mortgage pick. So Charlotte minus 3 versus MTSU, easy. I saw that again, literally saw it Monday, and I was like, oh, what? And easily took that. So easy. Charlotte minus 3, MTSU.
I'm now going to watch that game or track
Guess
it.
what?
You can't watch it.
It's tonight.
Ooh.
Little Friday night mortgage pick action on the show.
There you go.
I'm very excited.
I actually probably put money on that.
You should.
Yeah.
And plus, like, I believe Charlotte minus 3 is like only minus 105, or it's pretty close to even money at BetMGM. MTSU is very bad this year, Dom. That is correct. All right, A to Z Sports here live on the Friday. Let's go ahead and wrap up this week of shows with Ain't That Good News. What is your good news? We give our good news every Friday to wrap up the weekend. But first, let me tell you guys about the professional landlords in the Nashville area, Renters Warehouse and renterswarehouse.com. Head to their website to find out how much your home can rent for. There's so many different ways Renters Warehouse can be a benefit to you and your family. It's creating extra cash flows for you and your family by renting out your property instead of selling it. Selling it's a one-time transaction. That might be for you, but rent estate is how you set up your retirement plan. Get that long-term equity that equals long-term wealth. And Renters Warehouse does all of the work for you. Simply go to renterswarehouse.com.
Don't forget, on Sunday, we'll be live at the Mainstay, all home games, right across the street from Nissan Stadium. Pre-game, halftime, and post-game show. We've got you covered there. They are playing the Colts. It's a massive game, so make sure your live notifications are on. If you're going to the game, come pre-game with us, post-game with us, right there at the Mainstay.
Ain't that good news every Friday on the show? Zach, I'll send you to the comment section for some good news and also your own good news.
Good news from Ricochet Ray. Made it on TV versus at the UGA game in his Tennessee shirt.
I actually saw the post that Ricochet Ray posted about that.
There you go.
It was just like the sea of Georgia fans, and he was just there in his Tennessee shirt. He stuck out like a sore thumb.
Big Ten Jeff. Good news. Ohio State starting Kyle McCord versus Akron. So he's got his Ohio State good news. Travis with some good news. Good news that he'll be having the first litter of American Bulldog puppies. The pups will be ready to go on by Christmas. So, Travis, there's a litter of pups coming your way. Let's see here. Good news from Aaron. I hope that Arkansas wins this game on Saturday and the Titans win their game too. Jordan got married last weekend and going to the game this weekend. So, Jordan, good news. Congratulations to you and your new bride. Disney's 50th anniversary is next week for Jeff Rubel.
Disney's wait, like the park's 50th? Because Disney's a lot older than 50 years.
I have no idea. Jeff, we know, lives in Orlando. So
big Disney guy, Jeff, there. Big Ten Jeff in Florida. Theron says Michigan wins by 24. Maybe that's a good news for a bet that you've got out there. Theron, Ethan Renz says good news is this scarp type of weather. Yeah, absolutely. So, Zach, what's your good news today?
My good news is that 2 days from now, on the 26th, that my niece Marley is turning 7 years old. So I've shipped away a few presents that are on the way. My sister and her kids live in Denver. So Denver, Colorado. I won't be able to fly out there because it's the football season, but presents coming your way, Marley, and happy early birthday. She's turning 7.
Nice. Great. Good news for me is that I honestly like the weather from Ethan. Like, this is football season. This is football weather. I love waking up, walking outside, taking my dogs out early in the morning, and you breathe through your nose and you get that crisp air come in. So now you get all the warm stuff, all the sweaters, the quarter zip. I love this weather. Fall is the best time. It's officially fall, and we get so many good things with fall. Halloween's right around the corner. Put a Halloween sticker on the Magic Bucket yesterday. My good news is the beautiful, perfect weather, and we got done with all that crap rain that happened last week where my backyard was flooded. So now we've got fall coming up. Tomorrow's weather is going to be perfect. My wife and I have a little miniature date planned throughout the day after a workout tomorrow morning, and then it's Florida, Tennessee. So perfect Saturday for me until 6 o'clock. Then it won't be perfect anymore.
Yeah, then probably the tides will change. But shout out to Mandu. Hey, Austin and I love this place. I got my Mandu workout yesterday. They are the pulse of fitness. Absolutely. Your first workout is free. You cannot beat that. You got to come in here and try the workout. It will change your life. It's a brand new technology and a brand new way to work out. I mean, that's the best way. And you can do it once a week. You can do it twice a week. You can build up in levels, and it's really impacted Austin and I's life. So shout out to Mandu, our broadcast partner and our presenting sponsor of A to Z Sports.
Yep. And we'll see you guys Sunday at the Mainstay for our pregame show for Titans Colts. Huge game. The Titans have, I heard, like 50 plus former Houston Oilers in town for more of a Oilers homecoming, so to speak. So that could be a big moment for the Titans to be able to help bury the Colts in an 0-3 hole. So we'll see you guys Sunday morning. Don't forget the Big Orange halftime and postgame show with Charlie Burris and Jonathan Crompton at halftime and postgame of Tennessee, Florida, coming up Saturday night on the same channels you're watching right now, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We will see you guys Sunday morning. Have a good weekend. See you then.